Anthony with the pump fake and one dribble inside to the long two, and he makes it. That's been his game his whole career. But look at him smiling. We go, my bad. The long two.
Welcome to another episode of The Long Two. I am Pete Rogers. He is Natty Wallach, and we are a Carmelo Stanthony podcast.
We sure are.
Fanboys of the should be playing playoff games Phoenix Suns, and occasionally talk fantasy basketball. Natty, how you doing today?
Dude, the Suns should be playing even harder because Brooklyn Joe had to leave the bubble. So,
we don't need to start yet another show complaining about the NBA's horrible seeding and why both the Nets and the Magic are in the playoffs and the Suns aren't.
I know you've been thinking every minute of that game, like, what if this was the Suns?
Oh my God, the Suns are the best team in the bubble.
I literally think that could be like one of the best playoff series in recent memory.
Oh my God. It's just so upsetting. It's so upsetting that we are going to just basically now watch the corpse of the Nets flail about for another 3 games instead of watching, Devin Booker just drain threes.
If you put the Suns in where the Nets are, that series is incredible. It's actually really incredible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
but the Nets, awesome. Like when you start listing who isn't playing for the Nets, like even not just KD and Kyrie, but like Taurean Prince isn't there, Yeah.
No one's there.
Well, LeVert is there and Jared Allen.
No one is there, Natty.
No, if you've been a Nets fan since the apocalypse, since the trade, like you love Jared Allen. Actually, everyone in Brooklyn should love
Everyone loves Jared Allen.
He's amazing with kids. Like he wants to be there. He also seems to improve with every single game. Love his haircut and beard action going on in this bubble. But the Nets seem like they're playing really hard though. Like they just don't have the talent.
Good for them. What a nice consolation.
Not every team is playing hard.
That's
true.
We're
2 games in, but not every team is playing hard.
Well, we can make sweeping decisions from here.
There you go. Yeah. The Nets will win.
The Nets are all in.
Go blue, Karis LeVert.
Yeah, well, so obviously we're for the most part 2 games into round 1 at the time of this recording.
There are 2 games left tonight, I believe.
Beautiful. There you go. And we talked about this 2 weeks ago when we did the show before as we were setting our perfect rankings and all of that heading into the playoffs. It's been very exciting playoffs. Let's let the record show there have been some pretty nice surprises to kind of open up round 1. And so we're going to touch on some of those, some of the players, some of the teams, just basically all of the kind of the goodness, the surprises that have emerged in Orlando. And I want to start us off, Natty, because it's not a surprise because he was the MVP of the bubble, which also I did not know was a thing. Didn't know that the NBA was heading out like MVP awards to the bubble. But hey, I'm cool with it. Adding more trophies to Dame Lillard's trophy case. But this Lakers Trailblazers series has all of the makings for just a 7-game series of pure and utter delight. I think that what the Blazers have, we saw the Blazers playing exceptionally well heading into the playoffs. And obviously that play-in game was huge. And I watched that game and goddamn, they looked good. And the Grizzlies, snuck back in there occasionally. But they ultimately held them off. The Blazers then took game 1 against the Lakers with a big performance, and Danny Green was not looking so hot during that game. But this Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, Nurkic, and our boy Carmelo Anthony, like this Trailblazers team is here. And I honestly think that people maybe are like, okay, you get game 1. I don't think this is a Bucks Magic situation where Bucks, the Magic took game 1. And I know we're going to touch on them a little bit later in the show because also, the Magic taking any game against the Bucks is a surprise. But I think a lot of people are anticipating the Bucks now just like steamrolling the Magic. I don't think that happens here. Like, would you be surprised if the Trailblazers kept riding this, momentum and won again tonight?
The Blazers have been playing like it's Game 7 for weeks. The Lakers haven't been trying at all for weeks. The Lakers do not have their full complement of starting players. The Blazers do. The Blazers got a little bit lucky with the COVID pause because they got their front court back, even though Zach is now injured. The Lakers shot poorly, and so did the Blazers, really. Like a bunch of the upset games, like no one really shot poorly. It was just sort of volume and then lucky stuff.
Right.
But with the Lakers, they had the second most free throw attempts per game over the first 2 games, with the second worst free throw percentage. They went 20 for 31 from the line in the first game. They lost by 7. That's why the Lakers will lose. Like, if you're going to make a devil's advocate for Portland winning, it's because the Lakers, it doesn't have anything to do with their guards. They don't make it from the line. And the fact of the matter is that if Danny Green isn't going to be Toronto, San Antonio Danny Green, then it's going to be extremely difficult for LeBron and AD without Avery Bradley, the other best perimeter defender that the Lakers had this year, to win. Just because they don't have enough defense, even though they were a good defensive team. And there are, like, Kuzma's trying his hardest. He's doing really well. He should be starting. They need Danny Green to sink shots. Like, they just do. If you can't do that, then, like, he's not their third best player, but he's their third most important. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally. And I think that the thing that's like what makes this series so enjoyable for me is the fact that like the Lakers need Danny Green to be good in order for them to outlast this Trailblazers team that is just playing with house money and just everyone's on fire. And that to me is like, that is so. Danny Green's probably going to eventually have a couple good games. He'll probably eventually get it together. Maybe
yeah, totally.
Maybe they break in case of an emergency and Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith are suddenly playing valuable minutes. Who knows?
Dude, but even if that happens, like J.R. Smith has played.
But like you're relying on you need Danny Green to be good in order to
multiple NBA champion, incredible
that's
perimeter
fair.
defense.
That's
who
fair.
Has been
it's
sinking shot. Like, yeah, you need the 3-and-D guy.
You need a third guy. The Lakers need a third guy. Meanwhile, the Blazers, like everyone on the Blazers, is just firing, and it's awesome. Yeah. And I am so here for it. I mean, the Dame Lillard thing. I feel like this is the moment where Damian Lillard. I feel like now that the playoffs are basically all the sports that are on. Baseball is whatever. If you want to watch baseball, go ahead. But
how dare you? The Tigers are almost 500, and we just brought up Casey Mize. Who do you think you are? You live in Ann Arbor. How dare you?
Sorry. You know, when the Red Sox are whatever, just the bottom of the AL East, I tend to just tune out.
Did you trade Mookie Betts? Are you bad now? That's weird.
God, it's the worst.
That's so weird.
Fuck you, John Henry. Can't pay the best young prospect player to come up in your system and fucking forever who's a perennial
Cleveland
all
is going to do the
MVP.
same thing. They'll trade Lindor. Come on.
It's stupid. Anyways, I got on a Boston rant and now I forgot where I was going with this.
Cursed franchises, people you should root for.
No, the fact that Damian Lillard goes from small market Portland to playing at his balls on the line for the whole bubble and everyone's like bubble Dame is like fucking incredible. Logo Dame is fucking incredible. And now the stage is set for him to basically be this one-man wrecking crew against this Lakers team that LeBron and AD are there and they're playing as well as they can. But as crazy as it is to say this, like they need someone else. They need one more person, whether that's Kuzma, whether that's Green, whether that's, I mean, I think it'll change from game to game.
They need a guard. So
Right.
this reminds me of like when Neutral Milk Hotel just like suddenly blew up. And it's because no one else, there wasn't an analog. There is no mirror image. There is nothing you can do. This is unique. If the Lakers don't have their guards, then they can't fucking guard Dame and CJ. Like, that's just sort of common sense. Rondo coming back will be important, but Avery Bradley
is a huge loss.
It's a huge loss because now like the tandem of him and Danny's perimeter defense was actually going to be super sick and nice.
Well, and Bradley,
like
Bradley
Caruso can't do that,
right?
You know,
and
like
Bradley was the kind of was like he was the perfect with everyone on the Lakers and everyone playing. You know, like Bradley was the perfect guy who you could be like, hey, Brad, like expend all your energy on defense. Don't worry about
Avery,
offense.
Don't shoot at all. Yeah,
right.
If
we
you
don't
find
need
the ball
you
in your hands. Give it
anything
to
on offense. Pass the ball. Get the ball out of your hands. All we want you on the court to do is just make Dame Lillard's life as hard as possible. And, and that's
if you take more than 4 shots a game, you're fine.
you're off the court. But yeah, so I am just, and of course, I mean, this whole narrative is probably going to change by the time you listen to this. If the if the Lakers come back and LeBron and AD play out of their mind, and the Lakers, it's a 1-1 series and all the momentum's back in LA. But
I don't know. Okay, let's think about that though. Let's say that LBJ and AD do really great, but they still don't have defense against the backcourt for Portland. Do you think that LA will still win?
It would take like AD and LeBron would both have to score like 35.
Yeah. Right. And
and the other thing too is if your Lakers
also AD can't fade down the whatever.
But can we also talk about this would be the worst case if in game 2 of round 1 you need Anthony Davis and LeBron James to play 45 minutes and put up 35, like you need them to ball out game 2 of round 1. That's not a great sign for the Lakers moving forward for the rest of the playoffs if you were like this early needing LeBron, especially 35 years old, to be like, turn it on, buddy. You got to go like balls to the wall. We need you, whatever. Cleveland series.
I agree, but I also sort of understand the counterpoint, which is that this playoffs is so weird.
True.
That the variance, like one of the things I asked you in our Slack was, okay, what do you think about brackets without the Lakers, Clippers, or Bucks advancing? And it's just sort of hard to imagine that, even though I do think it's a possibility because of how weird this is. But basketball usually reminds you that you should trust talent and experience. Like LeBron's been in bad situations.
Totally.
He's been in situations where he's definitely going to lose, and he still didn't think they were going to lose. There's a reason to be hopeful for LA because, like, they didn't try during the bubble, and so this was their real first game back. And they didn't have their backcourt, and you would assume that Danny Green will do better.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
Kuzma's doing as much as he can. I love Kyle Kuzma. He's a Flint, Michigan guy. I wish he was on the Pistons. I love him forever. The fact of the matter is that
Blake
AD,
Griffin in a first-round pick.
Sure. No, yeah, whatever you want. I don't care. Like, yo, you can have my left hand. I don't give a fuck. Bring him home. The problem is AD.
Yeah.
Like, LeBron had an historic line. They still lost. AD needs to be the dude that everyone keeps hoping AD is going to be. But we've been saying that for 5 years. We've been saying that for longer than that, actually. And that's the problem with AD. Are you going to be that guy or not? Because if you're not, like if the Lakers go out, it's the Browns' fault, I think. Like it's not going to be because LeBron failed.
It's definitely
it'll be because Danny Green failed, but like he's not the second best guy on your team. You need the other dude.
Yeah. It would make for a very exciting offseason if the Lakers got knocked out in the first round.
Dude, why does AD not go? Like, you're taking the ball outside? Like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, go in. Also,
I'm
make
sure-
your free throws.
Also make your
like
free
that
throws.
really fun. But that's bothered me with every LeBron team since he came to the league. It's
LeBron shot 57% from the line in game one.
It's
not great.
like we always gave Shaq shit for that. We do not give LeBron shit for that. And they lose games because of it.
It's a good point. What surprised you out of round one so far?
Okay, so I want to talk about something that I was totally wrong about.
Okay.
Utah, Denver.
Oh, yeah.
Denver.
We could talk a little Don Mitch.
Like, okay, so Donovan Mitchell, his stats haven't changed that much since he came into the league. It's just that he's taking a few more shots and his efficiency has gone up a little bit. He's going to the line. But it's also, I think, apparent that Utah had too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, now that Bojan is gone.
So you're saying the thing that you were harping on the entire time leading up to the playoffs about Bojan being gone and you being like, no, don't trust it. The Jazz are fucked. You're now like, this is actually the best thing that could have happened for them because now Don Mitch is going to average 30 a game.
He looks fantastic.
So good.
Devil's advocate, the Nuggets look shitty. They look stupid. They look terrible. They look awful. Like, I don't care that Don Mitch is doing well. Denver shouldn't look this bad. They should not look this bad. And, like, not having Will Barton and Gary Harris, that sucks. You have other dudes.
Like, I mean, Michael Porter's been balling. And Jamal Murray.
Not on defense.
Not
on defense.
No.
And Paul Millsap has been a big fucking anchor. Like, they can do, like, one thing well at a time is what it looks like. Whereas Utah is actually like Don Mitch and Gobert are like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, all the rest of you. This is our team. Hello. And Jordan Clarkson, who's, I mean, he's sort of been a microwave scorer. Like, if he can keep this up, that's pretty nice off the bench.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it just makes sense because you can have Ingles just chilling on the perimeter for outlet shots. And
dude, fake team's favorite, Joe. Like facilitator, like a tall dude. Talks shit.
No, you're totally right. This series, we went into this series being like, this is the Nuggets in 4, basically. Like the Jazz, what are we going to do here? Blah, 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 blah. I was, especially even after game 1 with the Nuggets winning, I thought for sure, like, Don put forward, whatever, like 50-plus points, and they took it to overtime, and then Jamal Murray was able to, win it for the Nuggets. And I was like, okay,
Don
that's
Mitch had, like, the third most points for a playoff game.
Right. And I was like, that's it. That's the nail in the coffin, right? Like, this is Don Mitch doing historic crap. The Jazz still lose in overtime. Like, it's done. But then game 2 comes along. Donovan Mitchell still looking just as feisty as ever. And Rudy Gobert now gets involved. And you get the Jazz. Big old win, 20-point win. Yeah, this might be a lot. Again, I wonder if it's something where, like, similarly to the Lakers, where these top seeds are going to need a little bit of time. If they kind of took it easy or took it slow, they're going to need a little time to kind of have things click back into gear against these teams that, I mean, had a couple of success things. And it's just, it's just another point for why the 8-0 Phoenix Suns should be in the playoffs.
Right.
But this is suddenly, this playoff series has gone from, in my book, like, Nuggets are coming out of here maybe in 5 games, but 4 most likely 2. I mean, the Jazz could take this. They could upset the Nuggets.
They look like the better team.
Yeah.
I was so wrong about this series. But if this is Don Mitch's coming out, if this really shows, like, yo, you don't need these other guys. Like, you should have assumed I was the A-plus offense and combined with Gobert's A-plus defense. That's what you should have been planning around. Like, because Utah sort of hedged. They always hedge. So does Indiana. They don't go all in for things. They like to keep their draft picks. If this is addition by subtraction, then Utah is the better team because
plus
Denver doesn't have the perimeter defense.
Yeah.
Even though we love Jeremy Grant, like he can't be everywhere, and they're not
Right.
starting him. Like
yeah, well, maybe that'll
Millsap
change, but
and Jamal Murray is like that's what the series is. It's Jamal Murray versus Don Mitch. Whichever guard does super well in whichever game, I think that team will win.
Yeah, and so far it's been Don Mitch.
Jokic has been a presence, but he hasn't really been significant.
He hasn't been right.
Like, which is weird.
He hasn't been his normal dominant self.
But he's like there. He's all over. It's I don't know. It's been sort of strange. Like I wonder. Like Kevin Porter Jr. Not Kevin Porter Jr. Sorry, but their offense looks good. It's just that their defense looks so atrocious, you know, and like not having Will Barton and Gary Harris there is a real fucking problem for them. Like they can't, when they go to their bench, you're not bringing a dude off who's like, okay, cool, I have this assignment, you know?
Let's talk about the other most exciting. The West has got some good matchups. Obviously, we talked about that, but these series are playing out as such to being good. Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, and the goddamn Dallas Mavericks are walking into this is a beautiful like emergence of all of these young stars, Natty, and I fucking love watching it. I am here for Luka just balling out, and for when Luka's sitting on the bench for, you know, whatever 15 minutes because he's got 5 fouls, the Mavericks not missing a beat against the Clippers and still being able to build a lead and hold a lead in game 2. This is, you know, game 1 they eked it out. The Clippers won by 8, and game 2 the Mavericks were up 127-114. Are you worried about the Clippers at all? Is this just like the Mavericks are playing saucy, but eventually, you know, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George will get their shit together, especially Paul George?
Okay, before I answer that question,
no, you have to answer it right now.
You're not the boss of me, even though technically you are. I would just like to say that the 8-0 Suns that we both wanted to be in the playoffs over the Utah Jazz, I think. Like if we had to pick in the West, we would have taken the Jazz out and put the Suns in. They could have had Luka. Just imagine where the fuck they would be right now, Pete. Imagine where the fuck they would be. But getting to
would it be something where, you know, it would be
like they had already won
John
the
Mitch.
Championship. Like Adam Silver was like, we don't need a bubble. This
no.
Phoenix.
Sorry, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah,
Devin Booker and
like
Doncic
look at those guys. Are you out of your fucking mind? That's crazy. Okay, Dallas had the number 1 in NBA history offensive rating during the regular season. What does that mean in context? What it means in context is that they weren't a top 4 seed. So does it really mean that much? They are showing in this weird playoff bubble that maybe offense is more important than, or maybe good offense is more important than good defense right now, which is the opposite of what the playoffs usually are. Usually you need a good defense. Even the Warriors teams, they've had great defense. Like Klay Thompson is one of the best defenders in the league. Draymond, obviously.
Right.
So the Mavs are doing just enough to fuck with the Clippers. And the Clippers, when they lose Pat Bev, you see that they lose a lot. Like, again, it's guard defense. It's perimeter defense. It's people that can get up in your face. And the Clippers have 2 of the 15 best players in the league, but Paul George, his playoff experience is...
Well, he just hasn't looked good.
Right, but that's what we sort of always say, and then every 4 games, he has a great game. You're like, yeah, that's Paul George, the two-way player, and whatever. Like, the Clippers didn't have one of their best defenders, so who knows how this game goes if they had, but
Well, who knows how game 1 would go if fucking
if
Kristaps
Kristaps
didn't
hadn't
get
been
ejected.
Yeah, totally. And if they hadn't committed, Dallas doesn't turn the ball over. They turn the ball over 11 times in the first quarter, in the first game. They maybe should have won the first game. And so that's indicative of their offensive potential, but it doesn't really tell you what their defense. It just means that they score enough to win, in weird situations. I still don't think that they would have been a top 4 seed if the season had gone 82 games and nothing had been different, they don't have defense. They really don't. Kristaps gets blocks, but they're not. That's not a good defensive team.
What they've shown is, and you said this at the top of things, where it's just their offense has translated to the bubble and is playing super well and is so good that when
even without Luka and even without Kristaps,
which is also crazy, that's terrifying. But so that when you get moments like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George shooting under 30% from 3, Kawhi Leonard is shooting 23% from 3 to start the playoffs. It's garbage. And so when that happens, this offense is too good, regardless of how good your defense is. It's too good. You can't overcome that. You need to be able to put points on the board, because you're not going to stop this offense long enough or well enough to keep them under, 100 points. And so if you can't score 100, or if you can't outrace the Mavericks, then you're going to lose. And so it's this. I think you're right that obviously guard play is important, but this comes down to Kawhi Leonard, Paul George being we will not let the Clippers lose. And we talked a little bit about that with the Lakers, but I think the Lakers, it's more of LeBron's 35. AD is we have yet to see AD truly be the playoff AD that we want him to be in his career. He's never really done that. And so they're going to need a third person to step up. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard maybe carried is a stretch, was a large factor in the Raptors championship run last year. He has been here. He has done this. Lou Williams is phenomenal, veteran off the bat. This team is built for a championship. And if they are built for a championship, they need to get their shit together ASAP, because otherwise, Luka and Kristaps aren't slowing down. And that's so awesome, because damn it, I would love to see an upset here. I would love to see Kristaps and Luka keep going.
I think the difference between the teams that are doing well and the teams that aren't is sort of like the NFL. Teams that try hard in the latter half of the season and then go on runs and are ready for the playoffs, tend to stay within rhythm. They know, the teams that played hard when they didn't need to tend to do well. If you
can look no further than the 2007 fucking New York Giants.
Dude, yeah, you go on an 8-week run, right? And it's we don't care about what happened in the first half of the season.
Yep.
We're the team that we are now. Yep. And the reason the Raptors look so fucking good, it's not just because it's against Brooklyn. It's because they've been playing all of these seeding games have been playoff games. The Bucks, the Clippers, and the Lakers have not.
Yep.
I think that's why those teams didn't look good in the first game, but I still believe in the talent of all of those players.
Yes.
I just sort of feel man, if you're going to take 2 weeks off and just sort of half play, then yeah, there's a big fucking chance you get socked in the mouth.
Right.
Because everybody else is playing hard. No one's playing harder than Portland. And a little bit of this has to come down to coaching. Vogel, Jason Kidd, and there's somebody else there in that triumvirate of coaches for the LA Lakers. Even when they hired Vogel, it seemed like they immediately had Jason Kidd to maybe supplant him. So the coaching might be a little bit weird. A lot of this comes down to can AD be consistent enough or have enough games to be good where he rises to LeBron's level? We've seen Kevin Love, Kyrie, and Bosh, and a bunch of other players, like Dwayne Wade is the same level as LeBron, I think, when they played together. But like lesser players have risen to the level of LeBron in the playoffs, and they've had really big games, but they've also had duds.
Mhm.
You know, like they've all had duds, and LeBron always played well in them. So I don't want to go crazy. Like, do I really think LeBron is going to lose the Portland Trailblazers? No. The reason
Maybe.
I say that is because, like, most of the time I see LeBron, he doesn't lose in the playoffs. That's the only reason I'm saying it. Like, if AD plays to his potential, I do feel like the two of them can beat the two All-Stars on
Yeah.
the Blazers. But if the Blazers have a complete team and Slim Mello, who just looks great. He looks great.
And looks so happy to be there. Looks so happy to be there, man.
Totally.
That whole team. Like, and that's just the kind of shit that I love. It just makes for good, entertaining sports in general, but basketball in particular, man. Like that, and that's just one of the reasons why this Trailblazers team, I can't get enough of them. I can't get enough of this Trailblazers team because they are all just fucking stoked to be there, and they're playing like great basketball. Dame Lillard is cementing himself as a top 10 player in the league.
He shoots like Steph. His defense isn't where Steph's best defense can be. Like when Steph's on good defense, he's pretty fucking incredible. But CJ has a broken back. And like Zach Collins is injured, and Mario Hezonja gets way more play. Like Mario Hezonja is the most pivotal player in this playoffs because every single person who watches basketball is like, why the fuck is that guy out there? And then he'll take a three and he'll make it, and then you're like, cool. So you get to be awful for the next 7 minutes. The Blazers should lose this round, but that depends on whether LA can actually do what they're good at. If AD is going to take advantage of his size and athleticism, then the Lakers won't win. But that's crazy to think. It's crazy to think.
Yeah. You got any surprises in the East? Because I feel like we can talk a little bit of Bucks Magic. Game 1 was a surprise.
I mean, we didn't mention Boban, but he's a part of that Mavericks love. Yeah,
I mean, I love him not only because he got boards, but also just because did you see the interview that he did afterwards?
Oh, yeah, the heart. with his 7 feet long.
He's just the best. His parents are both 5'3" or 5'4", which is just like, how does that happen?
Him and Toby. I just love those two.
Yeah,
anyway.
Him and Toby. It's okay. They'll both be bumped in the first round, and they can hang out in Disney for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, will the NBA allow some players to stay if they get eliminated?
Can they then populate the fake crowd?
Yeah, just hang out. Like whatever. Yeah. I just want to
fucking
stay
it's Disney
here.
World.
Right. What do I have to do?
All right, we have lots more to talk about, but before we get to all that, we are going to take a quick ad break.
I sort of feel the same way about the Milwaukee series that I feel about the Lakers, which is that like Orlando didn't really shoot that well. Neither did the Blazers. Like shooting didn't really kill the Lakers and the Bucks in the first game. They just didn't play well anywhere, and the other teams did. But that's like, their fighter's chance. You get game 1. So I still feel like Milwaukee and the Lakers will win their series. I don't believe in Orlando at fucking all. No. Nikola Vucevic is a good player, though. And if you can draw Brook Lopez out, if you can draw out the bigs from Milwaukee, you do have a puncher's chance. But Giannis and Chris Middleton are players that are above the fold of most other players. Both of those guys are top 20 players. Chris Middleton. Okay, maybe Chris Middleton is top 25, but like he knows what he's doing and he knows how to play. I think some of this comes down to coaching. Not that impressed with Bud, but also like if a Giannis team loses to an 8th seed, I don't care what the asterisk is, then the whole team should change. And
Giannis is gone.
No, I think you should keep him.
There's 0% chance Giannis is staying.
Okay, so I thought about this though. Like, where would you want to go? Where Giannis could be Giannis?
Get rid of Jimmy Buckets and go to Miami and play with Bam.
But Jimmy, the whole reason the Heat play that way is because of Jimmy.
Yeah.
Like, you want to play with Jimmy.
But you want to play with Giannis more.
Does Giannis make other players better because of how weird he is? Because he's the freak? Or does he make players better because of he's willing to kick their ass?
Ben Simmons for Giannis.
And everybody else on Philly stays the same? I still don't think they have enough shooting.
Marcus Smart for Giannis. No, I would never make that trade. That's a stupid trade.
It's like, obviously it's not a stupid trade when you can get Giannis back.
No, it's
like every trade where you
Marcus
can get
Smart
Giannis.
is better than Giannis. Get out of here.
You know that a certain part of my heart believes that. You know that, and
no, but I'm sorry. I took it. I was making a joke out of it. But where would you think that he would go? Like, so you said you thought about this.
Okay, so the real question. So I was talking with friends about this. Would you trade Giannis for Luka right now? Yeah, that pause is the answer. Like, it doesn't matter yes or no. It's the pause that matters. And that is a real big fucking problem because Milwaukee might have a really good team, and it might be a team that is a great regular season team, but it's not a team that works in the playoffs. Bledsoe's defense, maybe, like, they made some moves a couple of years ago that we were sort of skeptical of when they happened. Like, we thought they should have some more shooting. Some of their young guards are doing well. Love Dante DiVincenzo.
Yep.
But, like, that's the sort of team that needs another closer. Chris Middleton is not a closer. Would I trade Chris Middleton for Jimmy Butler? Yeah, I think I would.
Could I offer you Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. But it's like they made a decision, right? Like, they decided to keep Brook Lopez and they decided to pay Chris Middleton, and they thought that they could replace Brogdon with young talent. They were right to a certain extent. I mean, they were number one in the East. Like, Brogdon wasn't, but they might have made a mistake. I mean, we talked about not losing Brogdon when that happened, but we also were like, yeah, but you sort of want to believe in, like, Giannis and Chris Middleton, and he's a quiet all-star. Brook was great. They had some young talent.
If the Bucks, for whatever reason, lost the series to the Magic and got bumped in round 1, or even in round 2, if the Bucks don't make it into the Eastern Conference championship, then I think the move is you go and aggressively get Bradley Beal.
I like that. I think you also fire Bud.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a given. But I think you put all the chips in, Chris Middleton picks, whatever it is. You get a legit all-star who can who can fucking catch fire, shoot the lights out, and pair him with Giannis. And now you're going to have this inside-outside game, which is going to terrify defenses and hopefully be able to kind of like make this offense not so one-dimensional. And that's the thing is that, like, the Bucks offense is really hard to stop, but if you can stop it,
then
it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else, it's
right,
Giannis
totally.
it's Giannis driving and it's kicking out. But if you if he can't drive, if he can't get into the paint, this offense just doesn't exist. And so I think that's something that they need to address. And they probably, I mean, it's probably not, unless that clicks on and Giannis just goes balls to the wall, or this team, or Chris Middleton plays like he's playing the Celtics every goddamn night for the rest of the playoffs. Like, I don't know if this is a championship Bucks team.
So we started this part of the conversation with Luka for Giannis. Would you trade Tatum and Jalen for Giannis?
Oh,
I wouldn't. I absolutely would not. Like, I don't even think, like, I don't need to hesitate. No fucking way.
They are so good.
That team looks
Tatum is back, baby. Tatum is fucking back. This is the playoff Celtics that we saw before fucking Kyrie, or when Kyrie was injured. Then Kyrie came in and just thwarted everything.
This looks like, so Boston and Toronto look, fuck the Bucks. They didn't look good, and if you're not going to come out trying hard, then you can go fuck yourself. Orlando got their win. They're in Orlando. Great, whatever. Who gives a shit? Like, Markelle Fultz didn't even play. Like, who cares? This is a dumb. There's no reason to believe that the Orlando Magic are a real team.
No, they are not.
Milwaukee Bucks have one of the 5 best players in the NBA right now. They will win the first round series. The more important stories are how good Boston and Toronto look.
So good.
Boston lost Gordon Hayward. Do you care?
Of course I care. Gordon Hayward.
Do you?
We've said this on this podcast. Gordon Hayward signed his contract on like an Indian burial ground. Like, good Lord, that man is cursed.
Yeah, he went on top of Stephen King books, like wearing clown makeup.
I mean, he was looking better in the bubble. He is starting to find a role in the Celtics team and thrive in that role. It's not the, max contract all-star last season in Utah that we thought he was going to be, because then he shattered his leg. So I obviously want him to be there, but you're right in that it's kind of nice. It's a luxury that Boston is currently operating with, where when Gordon Hayward goes down, they're like, well,
now our team makes sense.
Is that as big of a blow as maybe you think it is? Dude, and maybe it's not.
You can't get Wally pipped when you have a fucking player option. He'll be there next year.
Yeah, I know. But when Tatum and Brown are averaging, 25 and 30 a game, like, and Kemba's playing well, I think you're right in saying that the East, I'll put on my doctor stethoscope here.
Nice. Good ref.
Thanks. This is, the East is going to be Raptors Celtics playing in the Eastern Conference Final, in my opinion.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I forget. How does this work out? So we both love Miami too, though. Like, who plays?
That is right. Ooh, what is this bracket scenario?
Yeah,
NBA playoff bracket.
But like,
you think we would? Oh, here we go. You think we would do these things?
Yeah, but after the seeding games, I'm like totally discombobulated.
Okay, so if the Celtics play Raptors, Heat would play Bucks.
Okay, so that's actually the opposite of what I want. I don't want that.
I want Celtics and Raptors meeting in the finals. So it's going to be Celtics Raptors in round 2.
So that's too bad.
Don't love that.
I'd rather they were ECF, but yeah, totally.
The problem is that this is going to be
also
my worst nightmare.
Anti-jinx. The fucking Sixers will probably win the next 4 games. Sorry.
All right, we're going to get into that because.
Okay, yes. Let's get back to Boston.
This is my worst nightmare is that the Celtics are going to lose a tough game 7 to the Raptors because Gordon Hayward is out, and the Bucks are just going to like struggle their way to and the Raptors are just going to walk to the championship because
real talk as a Boston sports fan.
Yes.
Do you think Gordon Hayward? Do you think his mustache lessens his play? Like, do you think that if he had regular,
I thought the mustache was kind of helping,
dude, with the 5 o'clock shadow? No, you're absolutely wrong. Like, it helped on the free throw line. He's a plus 90% free throw shooter. But on the other hand, he keeps breaking both of it. Like, eventually, some dude's just going to run out on the court and, like, shotgun both of his kneecaps off. That's how this is going.
It's not going well. That's for sure.
It's brutal. Like, some ninja's going to come out with a sword. This sucks. I feel really bad for him. On the other hand, his money. And on the other hand, his mustache. Like, fix that shit.
And on the other hand,
right.
he is pretty certainly a Trump supporter, so don't love that.
I didn't know that, but, Indiana, whatever. Moving on. What about Gordon Hayward? Let's say that he didn't take his player option.
Okay.
Where would you like to see? Because I think we both like how he plays. He's just very unlucky. And, like, the Celtics didn't know that they were going to get the tandem of Tatum and Jalen.
They hoped. They didn't realize it was going to happen so fast.
Right. Out of their 17 fucking draft picks from Boston and everybody else, they were like, well, we hope we get 2 All-Stars out of this. They didn't know that they were going to get an MVP candidate and a guy that looks like he could be a defensive player of the year. Like, that tandem, I think I would take over some other. I'd take them over AD. I'm telling you that right now.
Ooh.
But that's 2 players.
Sucks to suck, Lakers fan. Am I right?
Yeah, but that's an unfair comparison. Like, obviously.
No. But we can compare the fact that they took Lonzo Ball ahead of Jason Tatum. So
the Celtics also dodged a lot of bullets during this time. Like, their draft picks didn't actually end up becoming that much.
Sorry, Natty, you were on mute. Did you say something right there?
But they look great. They look absolutely great. Their front court sucks. Like, even though Cantor, like, made some great plays, and
Cantor and Tice are fine, but really Marcus Smart is their best center.
Right. Yeah, obviously. Because, shit, we should have nice things. Dude, the very idea that they're going to pound Philadelphia into destroying that franchise let me tell you guys something. If Philly breaks up this team, it'll be another 7 years before you.
It's going to
player. Yeah.
So before we get into the final thing of today's show, because you sent this to me on Slack, and we have to touch on the fact that you think Boston will lose to Philly. So I will give you your 5 minutes to spiel on that shit. Before we do that, though, I want to bask in the glory of how intertwined the Celtics Sixers franchises are within the last 5 years.
It's incestuous. Put Brooklyn in there too.
Yeah, put Brooklyn in there too. But these two teams, and if Boston sweeps them in this series and signals the dismantling of this team, there has been so much that Boston has fucked Philly over for in this. They traded down to 3 with them so they could take Markelle Fultz, and then they get Jason Tatum. Beautiful move. Danny Ainge working
right,
magic.
But on the other hand, Boston could have had Matisse. And
they could have had Matisse Thybulle, but they didn't. Okay. Yes, Matisse Thybulle and Jason Tatum are on the same level of mistakes drafting.
Imagine that long-armed motherfucker on this goddamn fucking team.
But it would fill me with so much joy to just watch the Celtics Sixers like rivalry that has been brewing and happening for the last 5 years with trades and player movements and all this shit, culminating in Boston sweeping the Sixers quietly in 4 games in the bubble, and Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid no longer being teammates because of it.
Like, the thing is that
Embiid
is maybe the most talented player out of the players on Boston, or like has the highest ceiling if he was ever 100% healthy and 100% playing as hard as he possibly could on both sides of the court. He would be a better player than Tatum. But Boston traded down because they thought Tatum was a safer pick than Fultz, not because they thought he had a higher ceiling. They were like, we're willing to take the extra stuff you're willing to give us. Like, we think Fultz could be great. Maybe we would have taken him. But, like, Philly's just had a lot of blanks and had a lot of misfires. And a lot of that has started from when the Colangelos were placed in charge of that franchise.
Right.
The Colangelos were bad in Toronto. As soon as they left and Masai Ujiri came in, Toronto was pretty good. The Colangelos basically ruined the process. There's a world that exists wherein Embiid and Ben Simmons are gone from Philly for next regular season, and they start all over again. It's so expensive, that team. It's so poorly constructed. Jay Rich, who I really, really liked, he just didn't flower into the player that Philadelphia needed. They never had a second ball handler. They should have kept TJ McConnell, one of Embiid's friends. And they just look like a really, really bad failed experiment, but you can sort of see where they went wrong each and every time.
Yeah.
Like everybody that has left their team has done well, you know?
Yep.
Like Jimmy Butler. Smart decision. Get the fuck out of there.
That was a good move by Jimmy Buckets. All right, Natty, before we go, here's your time to make your pitch as to why the Sixers still have a chance to beat the Celtics. And I quote, Embiid has you right where he wants you.
Absolutely. And he does. Here's the thing. If Embiid and the Sixers played like everybody else except Brett Brown and his coaching staff want them to, and the players themselves, actually, then they should be able to beat Boston. Because nobody in Boston's front court can match up with Embiid. If Embiid wasn't catching passes 18 feet from the fucking buck, like if he was just low post all the goddamn time, defense at 110%, and the rest of his dudes actually sinking shots and actually, you know, doing their fucking jobs, then Embiid would be the best player on the court. And I think you usually go with series for who has the best player. Tatum looks amazing. And
Tatum
him and
is
Jalen
the best
together is absolutely sexual. I love that team. Are you really telling me that Enes Kanter and the Williams brother, like, they should beat Embiid? Like, Embiid's
Enes
just
Kanter
getting
is
the
about to
ball.
lock Joel Embiid down.
Dude, why does Embiid get the ball? Like, he should be in the look. It's crazy that he's getting the ball so far out away from the whole team should be around slow the pace. Don't let Boston run. Don't let them get into defense. Don't let Marcus Smart get in your head. Let Embiid score 50 points and try to get to the line 30 times. Like, they should be hoping for a sub 90-point game, and that's not how they've been playing. Like, I don't understand what the point of Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris, like how they're using their players in the fourth quarter is crazy to me. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well,
but
that was a good piece of fiction, Natty. Well done.
All right, but put Dr. Pete on. Put your stethoscope on.
Stethoscope's back on.
Okay. My opinion that Embiid's ceiling is higher than Tatum's. Do you agree with that or not?
In this series, yes, simply because you're right. The Celtics have no one who could shut down a fully formed Joel Embiid.
So you do think that there's like a puncher, like a 1 in 10 chance if Philadelphia played the way that everybody's been wanting them to play for 3 years, you think that they could beat Boston?
I think they could have made it a series, but I just don't think that you can still be Boston without Ben Simmons. Like, even if Joel Embiid just plays like a fucking animal on fire and puts up, 30 plus points and 20 boards a game and 5 blocks and is just like unstoppable in the paint, he's not coming out and guarding Tatum. He's not covering Jalen. Kemba's going to still be shooting threes off screens for days. So I mean,
what
they need shooting. We have said this so many times that is what they need. I feel like everyone needs Bradley Beal. That's what every single team needs.
But Philadelphia also needs Jimmy Butler. They had him. They also need JJ Redick. They had him. Like,
well, and that's the thing is that like
so many fucking players.
Maybe this whole process isn't the fact that you've had all of the right players there and it just hasn't worked.
We love
not a great
potential.
sign.
Like, I
not
love
a great
Ben
sign.
Simmons. I love Ben Simmons.
I think he needs his own team. Get him out of Philly. Get him onto a team. Like, build a Giannis team around him. I think that's what he can be. He can be a Giannis light.
Who do you think would be the best, like, under 30 or like under 26, like, running mate? Like, let's not do Bradley Beal. Who would be the best young player for Ben Simmons?
Do you have someone in mind? I'm trying to think, but
I think everyone would say Luka. I think everyone would say Devin Booker. I'm trying to think of like would he work well with AD? Maybe not.
No, because I think you're going to run into the same Joel issue. Yeah. Like you need a guy who is just like, I think Devin Booker is the guy. I didn't want to say him because I feel like I don't know what Devin Booker could be without the ball in his hands, but that is what you need. You need the guy who's playing next to Ben Simmons needs to be just like lights out from downtown. Like, here you go. How do you like CJ McCollum? Feels like that perfect run to me. I mean, I think I was going to say Dame,
Victor Oladipo.
I think yes. Victor Oladipo, I think is perfect. That's exactly who you want. A guy who can get super hot, can run the offense, can do everything you want, but can also run off screens, move without the ball, and be able to get lights out from downtown. Like, that's just what you're going to need to do.
Can handle the offense when you're sitting. Like,
exactly.
Like Aaron Gordon and Ben Simmons wouldn't work together because Aaron Gordon can't handle the ball like when Simmons. Like, you need a dude who can run your offense when Simmons is sitting, but also a guy where your defense isn't going to crater if he's not out there. Oladipo,
I think is the perfect. That's the perfect one.
Shit. Fuck. Also, it sucks that Sabonis isn't in that series.
Yeah.
Because that would be such a great stylistic contrast. Because, like, Miami's just hitting threes, and then Indiana would be like, no, we have two traditional front court players. Like, we go slow. We don't pay anyone much.
All right. Well, there you go. We not only discussed some big surprise, but we solved the Sixers and solved Ben Simmons and gave him now probably a better career moving forward. So you're welcome.
Wait,
Ben.
Did we mention every series? I think we did, right? Oh, wait. OKC Houston, the game tonight. What do you think, real quick?
I think Houston comes away with it. I know you said OKC was going to do it, but I think
Houston's sinking shots. Like, that's the difference.
James Harden is the rest was helpful for him.
Dude, James Harden went 2 for 11 from 3 tonight, 5 for 16 field goal percentage overall, but 9 for 9 from the line, and they won. So if Houston's hitting their shots, it does. I mean, OKC just needs to take more threes, but whatever. That's an interesting series too.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Make sure you subscribe to the Fake Teams podcast wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. That is how you'll find us. And not only how you'll get us, The Long Two, but also our fantasy football and fantasy baseball podcasts. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at The Long Two Podcast. Natty, talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Be well, bud. Talk to you next week.